In days long ago, many Native American people believed that giants made from stone once roamed the earth. One such stone giant was called Hobbomock. Hobbomock lived on the long water land with the Native American people who called themselves the Quinnipiac. Like all giants, Hobbomock ate a lot of food, spoke loud as thunder, and shook the earth when he walked. A young Quinnipiac boy called Blackbird first heard stories about Hobbomock from his elders. One such elder was Raka-Rota, a master storyteller.
Hobbomock was our cultural hero,
said Raka-Rota to Blackbird and others in his clan. All were seated before a warming fire in the clan's longhouse.
Hobbomock taught the Quinnipiac people to hunt and fish,
continued the storyteller.
He taught them to care for the land and the water. He taught them that all things are sacred.
Blackbird listened carefully while Raka-Rota spoke.
When Hobbomock lived among our ancestors, the winged people, the birds, and the four-legged people, the animals, and the two-legged people, the humans, all spoke the same language. Harmony and peace were everywhere. One day, Hobbomock sailed away in his stone canoe to teach other peoples who lived far away how to hunt and fish and care for the land.
What happened after Hobbomock went away?
Blackbird interrupted. Raka-Rota smiled at Blackbird.
While Hobbomock was away,
Raka-Rota continued,
the land of our ancestors changed. After the sun and moon rose and fell many, many times, the birds, the animals, and the humans no longer spoke the same language. They could not understand each other, so fear and distrust came to the land of the Quinnipiac. When Hobbomock finally returned, he grew angry at our ancestors.
What did he do then?
Blackbird asked.
To show his anger, Hobbomock stamped his foot and the earth shook.
Raka-Rota said.
He stamped his foot into the long river of pines and caused the river to change direction. Today, the river still makes a sharp turn where Hobbomock stamped his foot.
What did Hobbomock do next?
Blackbird asked. Blackbird's mother hushed the boy.
You are ever the inquisitive one,
Raka-Rota said, and he now spoke directly to Blackbird.
Hobbomock was so angry with our ancestors, he went away again. But legend foretells that Hobbomock said he would come back and punish our people for not respecting the birds in the sky and the animals in the forest,
the storyteller said. After Raka-Rota finished his story, Blackbird went to sleep and dreamed of the stone giant Hobbomock. He hoped he would never see Hobbomock return to punish his people. Many seasons passed, winters, springs, summers, and autumns. And when Blackbird was a few years older, he was allowed to journey into the woods on his own. Blackbird nearly forgot about the stone giant Hobbomock, for Raka-Rota told many more exciting legends. One morning, Blackbird woke to fill his lungs with a cool morning air and feel the first warm rays of the sun on his face. He put on his leather breechcloths and leggings, slipped on a pair of buckskin moccasins, and grabbed the bow and arrows his grandfather had made for him. After a breakfast of corn, beans, and squash, and fresh oysters his mother had gathered earlier that morning from the edge of the long water, Blackbird said goodbye to his mother and father for the day and walked into the deep forest alone. Before long, Blackbird spotted a squirrel. He followed the squirrel until a deer appeared in the forest. He followed the deer through the forest until a hawk appeared in the sky. Blackbird followed the hawk along a stream, over a hill into a valley, and up another hill until he reached the edge of the long river of pines. The hawk disappeared into the treetops on the other side of the river. While Blackbird watched the slow river, he felt a mystical presence. He felt like he was one with the spirit world. Suddenly, his peaceful feeling was shattered when the earth shook for a moment, followed by silence. The land shook again after the sound of a distant boom. The booming sound continued and drew closer. The earth shook more violently after each boom. Blackbird was about to run when the booming sound stopped. The earth was still again. Blackbird stood very still, for he thought he saw something move among the trees at the edge of the river. The thing that moved did not look like a squirrel, or a deer, or even a bird. In fact, Blackbird could not tell what it was among the trees until he heard a loud cracking sound overhead, the sound of large tree branches snapping, and he looked up. There, towering overhead high above the trees, was a giant man made of stone. "Hobbomock?" Blackbird blurted out loud. The stone giant heard the human voice and turned his dark and angular face to look down at Blackbird. Blackbird began to tremble. The giant reached for the boy with a stony fist the size of a boulder, and Blackbird ran. He ran like a frightened deer away from the river and into the forest. Hobbomock followed, his giant stone feet smashing trees like they were twigs. For every 20 running strides Blackbird took, Hobbomock drew closer with a single giant step. Blackbird stopped, drew an arrow from its quiver, and fumbled to place it on the bowstring. Hobbomock stopped and looked down at Blackbird, who had dropped the arrow and was now frozen still like a startled rabbit.
"Why have you come to the edge of this river?"
thundered Hobbomock's voice. Blackbird hesitated a moment and then puffed out his chest to make his tiny body look bigger. "I have come to explore and to hunt," Blackbird said.
"You cannot hunt along this river,"
Hobbomock thundered.
"This is my river, and your people no longer respect it. You no longer speak the same language as the birds and the animals."
"I do respect the river," Blackbird said. "I respect the squirrel I followed, and the deer in the forest, and the hawk that flew here to the river."
"I will hear no more."
The giant's voice boomed, and he stomped his foot. The ground shook, and Blackbird fell backward. He jumped back to his feet, unharmed, and ran. Hobbomock stomped the ground again and again, crushing tree after tree, looking for Blackbird. But the boy was gone. When Blackbird arrived back at his clan, he ran straight to his mother and father. "Where have you been?" his mother asked. "We heard great thunder in the distance. We were concerned about you, Blackbird." "It's not thunder you heard. I went to the river, and I saw him. I saw the stone giant Hobbomock. He was angry and stomped his feet, and he told me I could not hunt by the river because our people no longer respect the land and the animals. Where is Rockarota? I must tell him that Hobbomock has returned to punish us." Hearing the commotion, Rockarota had come to Blackbird's longhouse, and he was already standing in the doorway.
"Rockarota! Rockarota!" Blackbird panted. "That was not thunder you heard. The stone giant Hobbomock has returned, just as you said he would."
"Hobbomock tried to hurt you?"
Rockarota asked.
"He tried to grab me, but I ran. And he stomped the trees with his giant stone feet and tried to crush me."
"Did you see which way he ran?"
"I don't think so," Blackbird said. I ran like my father taught me. I ran like the rabbit, in a circle, and then I went off in the opposite direction and came home.
That will give us some time, Blackbird's father said, but we must stop Hobbomock before he finds us.
There is only one thing we can do to stop Hobbomock,
Rock-a-Rota said.
We must summon the good spirit Caton and ask for his help.
Blackbird's father gathered the elders while Rock-a-Rota gathered his charms, a bear's claw, a fox's tooth, and a bird's foot. The elders, both women and men, sat in a circle around the charms and began to chant. Blackbird sat between his father and his grandfather. Together, they chanted the ancient words to summon the good spirit Caton. Caton could not be seen, but he could be heard in the whispers of the nearby fire. The elders asked Caton to cast a spell to stop Hobbomock from hurting their people. While they chanted, they heard the thunder and felt the ground shake as Hobbomock drew closer, looking for Blackbird. Caton knew that giants need a lot of food, and he knew that Hobbomock's favorite food was oysters. So he cast a sleeping spell on the oysters along the edge of the long water. The booming footsteps of the giant came closer, closer, and then they stopped. The elders went silent, ending the chant. They listened. Blackbird left the longhouse and climbed to the top of a tall oak tree. He whispered down to the others who had followed him and now stood at the base of the tree. "I see him," Blackbird said. "I see Hobbomock at the edge of the long water. He's scooping up the oysters and eating." This pleased Rock-a-Rota. What Caton had said from the whispers of the fire was true. Hobbomock had grown very hungry, and he needed to stop for food, for oysters, before continuing his search for Blackbird. Once Hobbomock was full of oysters, he yawned and blew out a giant breath. His breath made the treetops sway back and forth. He took 3 giant steps, shook the ground, stopped, and yawned. The sound of a thunderous growl came from his mouth. The giant took 2 more steps, stopped, and yawned again. And then he took 1 small step, stopped, and lifted his stone hands to his stone face. Hobbomock stood very still, not moving. He began to teeter, and then he fell to his knees with a thunderous bang. Hobbomock knelt for a long count, still holding his hands to his face. His arms then dropped to his side, and he rolled sideways and fell onto his back in one final explosion of shaking earth. The earth shook so violently, Blackbird fell from the tree. He broke his fall by grabbing onto branches and landed on the soft forest floor, unharmed. Hobbomock, the stone giant, lay on his back, fast asleep, under the power of Caton's sleeping spell.
"Hobbomock cannot punish us now," Blackbird said.
He will sleep for a long, long time,
Rock-a-Rota said, and he smiled at Blackbird. The years passed while Hobbomock slept. The forest that Blackbird once played in and hunted in grew over Hobbomock while he slept. When Blackbird grew older, he became a father and a grandfather himself. When Rock-a-Rota died, Blackbird took his place as a master storyteller among the Quinnipiac people. Blackbird told his clan of the old legend of the stone giant Hobbomock, as Rock-a-Rota had told it. And he told them of the new legend, of the time when Hobbomock returned to punish Blackbird and his people, and how the good spirit Caton cast a sleeping spell to put Hobbomock to sleep for a long, long time. Today, Hobbomock still sleeps. His sleeping body lies beneath a set of hills that form the sleeping giant landform in what is now Hamden, Connecticut. But legend has it that one day, Caton's sleeping spell will wear off, and Hobbomock will wake up. And the hills that form his head, his body, and his legs will be gone. And legend also has it that when Hobbomock wakes up, he will be very, very hungry.